On a stormy night, a trucker named James maneuvered his sleek black and silver rig along a desolate stretch of highway. The rain battered the truck's metal frame, a relentless percussion that filled the cab with a constant, droning hum. The road was treacherous, slick with water, but James was accustomed to navigating these perilous conditions. His headlights cut through the dark, stretching far into the storm's abyss. As he rounded a sharp bend, James noticed something peculiar, a solitary figure huddled by the roadside. Despite the torrential downpour, the figure remained eerily still, almost as if untouched by the storm. James squinted through the rain and saw an old man seated on a worn wooden crate, his clothes a relic from a bygone era, a ragged coat that had clearly seen better days and a broad-brimmed hat. His white hair, slicked flat against his scalp, contrasted sharply with his deeply weathered face. The old man's hands, gnarled and scarred, seemed to tell a story of a life marked by laborious toil and relentless hardship. Compelled by both curiosity and concern, James decided to pull over. He parked the truck, the engine's rumble fading to a soft purr as he stepped out into the storm. The rain soaked through his clothes almost immediately, but he approached the figure nonetheless. "Evening, sir," James called out, his voice barely carrying over the roar of the storm. "Do you need any help?" The old man slowly raised his head, his eyes, a deep, ancient blue, glimmering with an unsettling sorrow. "I'm just waiting for someone," he replied in a voice that sounded as if it had been scraped from the depths of a long-forgotten past. James, feeling a blend of empathy and intrigue, decided to sit down beside the old man. They spoke for a while, covering topics ranging from the relentless weather to local legends. As their conversation unfolded, James couldn't shake the feeling that the old man's stories were too detailed, too precise for someone living in the present. James's unease grew as he listened to the old man's account of bygone times. His stories painted vivid scenes of a rural life, filled with intricate details about the land, the people, and the events of centuries past. Eventually, James mustered the courage to ask, "So, how long have you been waiting out here?" The old man's gaze seemed to drift beyond the physical realm, his eyes focused on some distant, intangible horizon. "I've been waiting for over 2 centuries, he said softly. James's heart skipped a beat. He laughed nervously, attempting to dismiss the statement as a strange jest. But the old man's grave expression left no room for doubt. The pieces of the puzzle began to click together in James's mind, and he recalled a chilling local legend about a man named William who had perished in a sugarcane field 200 years ago. According to the story, William had been waiting ever since, his spirit bound to the place where he had met his untimely end. James's blood ran cold as he connected the dots. The old man by the roadside was William, forever tethered to the mortal world by a sinister force. The legend had darker undertones that James had heard in hushed tones, but never fully believed. William had been killed by a malevolent entity known as the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow was no ordinary scarecrow. It was a grotesque creation, a traditional scarecrow with a head fashioned from a horse's skull, its body draped in tattered clothes. According to the legend, the Scarecrow had come to life one fateful night, animated by some dark, supernatural power. It had brutally murdered William, leaving the town in a state of terror and confusion. After the grisly event, the Scarecrow vanished, and no one knew where it had gone. As the horrifying realization sank in, James felt a wave of terror wash over him. The old man's spectral presence, combined with the malevolent history of the Scarecrow, was too much to bear. Without a word, James bolted back to his truck, his heart racing with a mix of fear and disbelief. He leaped into the driver's seat, slamming the door shut and starting the engine. The truck roared to life, and James sped away, the rain now feeling like icy needles against his skin. The dark, stormy night seemed to close in around him, the shadows elongating and twisting in a nightmarish dance. He drove with a sense of urgency until he reached a gas station where he skidded to a stop. His hands shook uncontrollably, and his breath came in ragged, shallow gasps. The gas station was a small haven in the tempest, its dim lights casting eerie reflections on the rain-soaked pavement. Unable to drive any further, James decided to take a break. He locked the doors and huddled in his truck, trying to calm himself. The storm raged on outside, but James's thoughts were consumed by the ghostly encounter and the horrifying legacy of the Scarecrow. Every creak and groan of the truck seemed to echo the terror of his recent encounter. In the solitude of his truck, James eventually drifted into a fitful sleep, plagued by nightmarish visions of William and the monstrous Scarecrow. The old man's ghostly figure haunted his dreams, and the sight of the horse-headed Scarecrow loomed menacingly in the shadows. William's spectral presence remained etched in James's memory, a chilling reminder that some legends are not merely stories but echoes of a past that refuses to remain buried, reaching out from beyond the grave to touch the living.